Welcome back everyone. In this lecture, we'll learn the basic steps for filtering in frequency domain, the fundamentals of it, what is convolution, circular convolution, what is zero padding, those basic stuff we'll learn first, and then we'll take a look at some smoothing frequency domain filters, and then sharpening frequency domain filters, and finally we'll learn about homomorphic filtering. Let's now understand the basics of filtering in frequency domain. We know that from the Fourier transform property, convolution in spatial domain or time domain is equivalent to multiplication in the frequency domain. And multiplication in frequency domain is much easier than the convolution in the spatial domain if you consider the number of calculations involved. So it's much easier and simpler process to perform multiplication. So we can perform filtering process by using frequency domain filtering operation. So how we do it? Let's see. So we have a input image f of xy. Then we'll perform the pre-processing steps like padding of zeros. And we take the Fourier transform of the input image, which gives us f of uv. Note here it's capital F, and input is f of xy small f, which is in spatial domain. So this is in frequency domain. And then we need a filter function. So we multiply this Fourier transformed image with the filter function h of uv. So that basically gives us multiplication h of uv into f of uv. So this will give us the filtered image. And then in order to display it in spatial domain again, we need the inverse Fourier transform. And then we'll do some post processing. And there we have it. This is the image in enhanced image in spatial domain. This is the output image. So again, it is in spatial domain. You can notice it is in small letters. Okay. So input image has been enhanced using the Fourier transforms, and then we got back the output image in spatial domain. This is how the filtering in frequency domain works. So let us see what happens in that filtering in depth, okay, with another illustration. So we have an input image f of xy, and then we take the 2D FFT, two-dimensional FFT, and then we need to perform the FFT shift as we studied in previous lecture, and then we obtain this f of uv, which is the frequency domain representation for the input image. And then we need to define this h of uv, which is the user defined function h of uv. Again, you can note it is capital H, so that means it is in frequency domain coefficients. Then we perform the multiplication, and then we obtain the filtered coefficients g of uv. So this is the filtered output. Now we cannot view this because it's in frequency domain, and it makes no sense to try to view this. Viewing is possible only in the spatial domain. That's how we see things. We cannot see or feel things which are there in frequency domain. So we need to get it back. So for that we will perform inverse of this FFT shift. Means we'll do the FFT shift again to realign the image, and then we perform a 2D IFFT inverse of this 2D FFT, and then we have the output image g of xy in spatial domain. Okay, so original input image is in spatial domain, and in order to filter it, we enter the frequency domain, do all the processing, means multiplication in this case with the user defined filtering function, and then we perform the inverse FFT to get back the output image in spatial domain. So this is how the entire process looks like. So multiplication in frequency domain is equivalent to circular convolution in spatial or time domain. So basically what we have is input image f of x and filtering function h of x. So we take the DFT of both, we get the frequency domain equivalent, and then we perform the multiplication in order to get the filtered output g of u. And then in order to display it back in spatial domain, we take the IDFT, and there we have the filtered image output. Now look at the waveform. So this is f of x and this is the h of x, and as we studied in digital signal processing, circular convolution of two signals needs a padding of zeros. Otherwise, if the length of the sequence is not equal, then we'll get a wrap around effect like this. Okay, we'll have a wrap around effect. So in order to view this on image, what happens exactly? So let's see this one. Let's see this example. So we have the original image, and this is our Gaussian low pass filter with d not equal to 5. So we'll come back to this topic later. Okay, what is Gaussian filter and what is this kind of representation? So let's see what happens if we don't perform that zero padding. So we multiply this image in frequency domain, and then uh, this is the output. Okay, filtered image, and you can see incorrect areas being displayed around the edges, this white patch. Okay, around the rim of the image, you can see incorrect areas. So this is the wraparound effect causing trouble on the filtered image. So in order to get rid of the unwanted wraparound effect, we need to perform zero padding. So the procedure looks like this. So we have two inputs, input image and a filter function. So we are performing zero padding here to make the lengths equal, and then we take the DFT of both of them, and then we have the filter coefficients in frequency domain and the input in a frequency domain, and then we multiply them in frequency domain, and then in order to view them back in spatial domain, we need to take the IDFT, and then next is concatenation. So this is basically to remove the padded zeros which we did in the forward transform. Okay, so these zeros which are padded will be removed in this concatenation step. Then we have the output image g of x. So this is how it looks like. So f of x, h of x, and g of x. So you can see the padded zeros here. Okay, so these are the zeros which are padded to make lengths equal. So both lengths are equal here, f of x and h of x. Similar way we did in DSP. Okay, so same concept here. And then in the output, what we do is we perform concatenation. That means we retain only this part in the green square here, and we eliminate or concatenate this remaining zeros, which are basically padded part. Okay, so this is how the convolution is done. Circular convolution is done on the images. Let us see an example of filtering in the frequency domain. So in this example, we set f of 0 to 0. That means we are basically removing the frequency, zero frequency component. Okay, and the zero frequency component means it is the average intensity of an image. So from this example, this image, if you remove the zero frequency component, that means you are getting rid of all the plane areas. That means where there is no fluctuation in the intensity between neighboring pixels, that area will be turned into black, means we are removing it. So this will be the result of setting the zero frequency component to 0. Okay, this is what we are doing. We can say we are removing the DC component from the image. So these two are the high pass and low pass filters in frequency domain. And you can see in low pass filter, the response is high near the origin. And for high pass filter, the response is low or zero near the origin. And as you move away from the origin, the response becomes higher. In case of low pass filter, as you move away from the origin, the response is lower. Okay, so you can see the effect here. So this is the output of a low pass filter. You can see the image has become quite blurred. okay, and all the edge details are lost. But if you pass it through a high pass filter, you can see the edges more prominently. And basically we are setting the zero value, means DC value, to zero with this. So the average intensity level is made to be black in this example. Okay, only edges are highlighted. So this is a low pass and high pass filter in frequency domain. So these are the filter masks and their Fourier transforms. So this is HFU, Gaussian frequency domain low pass filter, and this is the Gaussian frequency domain high pass filter. You can see the for low pass the response is high near the origin, and for high pass filter response is zero or low near the origin. So if you consider their equivalent filters in a spatial domain, you have this one, okay, low pass spatial filter. So which is basically a average or weighted averaging filter, and for a high pass filter, you have a Laplacian filter, okay. So with different masks here. So these are the duals in spatial and frequency domain. So let us take a look at the basic filters in frequency domain. So we have two broad categories: smoothing frequency domain filters and sharpening frequency domain filters. Let's take a look at them one by one. Okay, so first we'll take a look at smoothing frequency domain filters. The first smoothing filter that we are going to learn is the ideal low pass filter, and it is given by the transfer function h of uv equal to 1 for d of uv less than or equal to d naught, and it is 0 for d of uv greater than or equal to d naught. So what's happening here is, if the diameter is less than or equal to d naught in this one here, so if it is less, the response will be 1. If it is more, the response will be 0. That's what this transfer function is specifying. So this is the top view of that filter, or else you can say this is the frequency domain view of that filter function, and this is the three-dimensional view. Okay, so near the origin and till the distance is less than or equal to d naught, the response is high, it is 1, and there is a step decrease to 0. Okay, there is a step change because it's a ideal LPF. Okay, now what's happening here is, we are passing the frequencies which lie within this range. Okay, and anything beyond this, anything represented in black, is cut off. That's what we mean by this ideal LPF. And the transition from this high to low is sudden. Okay, there's a step change. It isn't smooth because it's a ideal LPF. So let us first understand what happens to the representation here in frequency domain. Okay, so this is the test image, which we saw in the previous lecture also, test image with all the possible patterns in the image. Now if you take the Fourier transform of this image, this is the output, okay, and the circles are superimposed on it so that we can have a reference point. Now uh, if you can make out, there is a tiniest circle inside. Okay, so there are in total of 5 circles. This is the first one, second, third, fourth and fifth, very small circle inside, and that small circle holds 92% of the energy of this image. Okay, and then if you move to the second circle, the one you can actually make out, the second circle, okay, here, so that holds 94.6% of energy, and the third circle, this one, third circle holds 96.4%, and this circle holds 98%, and the bigger circle here holds 99.5% of the image power. Okay, so here you can see this covers a lot of area, but still the increment between this and this is only 1.5%. This entire area between these two circles holds only 1.5% of the image power. but inside it holds, the smaller region holds 98% of the energy. Okay, so here the energy is compacted near the origin. Okay, so this is one fact we should remember. So how it affects the outlook? If we keep only a smaller circle and cut down all the outside area. Okay, let's see. So the smaller the denote, the more high frequency components are removed. Now let us see the effect of clipping or removing a portion of spectrum on the output image. So this is the input image. So this is the spectrum. Now if we keep only this portion, the small circle with the radius of 5, okay, and remove all other parts. So this black parts means we have um, made the components to 0, means we have removed them. High frequency components are removed, and only this tiny circle is retained. And as we saw in the previous slide, that retains 92% of the image power. Okay, now this 92% translates into this much of information. So you can see we have lost lots of edge information. This is too much what you can see call as smoothened image. Next, if we again go for clipping the spectral components, let us choose a bigger circle or bigger diameter. So let us choose this one, okay? And with this, we retain 94.6% of the original image power. So this 94.6% translates to this image. You can see. So this is 92% and this is 94.6%. You can see a lot of information here. Okay, you can see this A clearly, but the smaller A's are not clearly visible, and these lines are basically not distinguishable. Okay, and even the dots, a few dots you can see, the smallest one has disappeared, and these noise squares basically they are lost here. So this is the effect of the second circle with 94.6. Now again, if we try to increase it further like this is the spectrum, and if we choose the third circle like this with a power of 96.4%, the result will be like this. You can see almost all the components clearly. Along with that, you can also see some sort of ringing effect, okay, around the letter A, and almost on all the patterns you can see this ringing effect where you can see the fluctuation of intensity. Next, if you further increase the diameter, like if you retain this circle or the components inside this circle, which retains 98% of the original image power, so you can see the image here. So it's almost like the input image. Only this portion you can see some changes. It's smoothened out, and other components are quite clearly visible here. Okay, this is the effect of using this diameter, and you just remove the 2%. Okay, sorry, the outside area which has the 2% of information. This 98% translates to this. Okay, and then last portion, if you go for the bigger circle like this, which retains 99.5% of the image power, you get this image, which is basically similar to the input image. Okay, so this is the effect of having varying diameter circle for image filtering. So this is the origin has the low frequency components. As you move away, you get the higher and higher frequencies. The origin in fact has the zero frequency. As you move away, you get the low frequency components, and as you move further away, you get the high frequency components, which gives the uh, details to the image. How the ringing effect happens is because of abrupt change in the amplitude. So this is the ideal low pass filter with D not equal to 5, and this is the surface plot. Now this happens because for a rectangular function as input, its Fourier transform is always sinc function. And when you have a sinc function, this is three-dimensional view, you will see these ripples. Okay, and these ripples are causing the ringing effect in a ideal low pass filtered image. It's unavoidable. Second type of low pass filter that we're going to study is the Butterworth low pass filter, given by the transfer function h of uv equal to 1 by 1 plus d of uv by d naught whole to the power of 2n. So where d naught is the cutoff frequency and n is the filter order. Now you can see this is the a plot of the Butterworth low pass filter, and you can see it is smoother. Okay, transition from high to low is smooth, and the near the origin the output is maximum, and as you move away from the origin the output drops to zero slowly. So as you increase the order, it approaches a step function. Okay, and if you keep it less, it is smoother. Okay, so that's what you can see with the Butterworth low pass filter. So these are the results of filtering the image using the Butterworth low pass filter. So the first image here, this is the input image. This second image is the result of using the smallest radius, okay, for filtering. Uh, and the order for all these results is basically 2. Butterworth filter of order 2. So if you keep only the area corresponding to the smallest circle inside, this will be the result. If you go for the this circle, output will be like this, and you go for the third circle like this, results will be a bit better. And then if you increase it to this big circle, okay, like this one, 98% of energy, and this is the result where you can see almost all the information that was there in the original image. And if you again go for the bigger one, you will get back almost same image as the input. Okay, now the major difference between Butterworth low pass filter and the ideal low pass filter is that the Butterworth low pass filter, there is less ringing effect compared to those ideal low pass filters. Okay, so there is less, but still it is there for higher order. If you increase the order to 10 or 15, you will see some ringing effect, but at lower orders you won't see any ringing effect. So these are the spatial representation of Butterworth low pass filter of order 1, 2, 5 and 20, and corresponding gray level profiles. Okay, so these are the gray level profiles through the center of the filters, and you can see as you increase the order of the filter, you will see the ringing effect. Okay, so this is the issue. So higher order Butterworth low pass filter will cause ringing effect. So Gaussian filter is the third type of low pass filter that we're going to study. So it is given by the transfer function h of uv equal to e raised to minus t square uv by 2 d naught square. So where d naught is equal to spread factor. Okay, so how much this transition spreads is given by the d naught. Now similar to Butterworth filter, the response is high in the origin, and as you move away it tapers off to low value or zero. And so if you apply various values of d naught, this will be the response. So as you increase the order, it becomes more smoother and smoother, and if you decrease the order, it basically approaches kind of a step function. Okay, and to note, the Gaussian filter is the only filter that has no ripple effect, and basically it doesn't create any type of ringing effect. So why it doesn't give any kind of ripples in output is because of the Gaussian shape. Okay, Gaussian shape is the only shape which retains its characteristics in both domains, like in spatial domain or in frequency domain. The shape of the Gaussian curve is retained. That's why it doesn't give any type of ringing effect. So this is the result of using the Gaussian low pass filter. So as you can see, if you use the cutoff frequency at d naught equal to 5, that means this if you retain the area inside the small circle inside, you will get this result, and it's quite smooth actually, and even this A you can make out, okay, and the square is visible. So as you move towards the bigger diameter circles, means you retain those part, so you get more clear output, and you won't see any kind of ripple effects. So that is the advantage of using the Gaussian low pass filter. Gaussian low pass filter can be used to remove jagged edges and repair broken characters like this. So in this example, you have the original image, and uh, it has discontinuous edges, and the characters are broken basically. So if you zoom into this part, year, this word year, so E and A, you can see they are not continuous. Okay. Now if you filter it using the Gaussian low pass filter, this will be the effect. You can convert this broken edges into continuous case. So what's really happening here is you are reducing the difference between black and white pixels, so it makes it smooth and it gives the impression of it's being continuous. So you can see the contrast has reduced, but it looks better compared to the original image. Another application is to remove the wrinkles. So similar application is found in all the mobile phones now. You basically smoothen the image. You can have lots of filters uh, in the app to uh, make the image look much more smoother. Okay, so you can see the wrinkles near the eyes have been removed here by application of this Gaussian low pass filter. So basically the image looks much more softer. Okay, the trade-off here is you lose the details, you lose the sharper details, but for enhancing the face and all, it looks uh, much better, okay, if you use this Gaussian low pass filter. Another application of a Gaussian low pass filter, here you can see this is the pic of a Gulf of Mexico and Florida from a NOAA satellite, and it has lots of artifacts in the image. Now just if you want to remove this artifact, you can apply the Gaussian low pass filter, and this will be the result. But this is a simple way, but it's a crude way. In the output image, you cannot see much detail, and you may think the input was better than the output image. But still, this is just an illustration. Let's take a look at some high pass filters. The first one is ideal high pass filters. So the transfer function is given by this equation. H of uv is 0 for d of uv less than or equal to d naught, and it is 1 for value greater than d naught. So it's basically inverse of the low pass filter. So here the center is suppressed, and we are keeping the outside area of this circle. So this is the three-dimensional view. So you can see around the origin the output or response is 0, and after you cross the diameter d naught, the response is high, and it is a step change. So it is basically the ideal high pass filter. So the transition from black to white is sudden or abrupt. Okay, so this is the cross sectional view. So you can see from 0 to some diameter d naught, the response is 0, and above that the response is high. Butterworth high pass filter, the transfer function is given by 1 by 1 plus d naught by d of uv raised to a whole raised to 2n. So where d naught is the cutoff frequency and n is the filter order. So as you increase the filter order, it approaches the ideal filter, and it's basically a similar to low pass filter, but it cuts the low frequency component and passes the high frequency components, and the transition is smoother, okay, than the ideal low pass filter. Third type of high pass filters that we are going to learn is the Gaussian high pass filters. The transfer function is given by h of uv is equal to 1 minus e raised to minus t square uv by 2 d naught square, where d naught is the spread factor. So the origin uh, has low response. You can see here in the 3D graph, 3D plot, and as you move away, the response increases smoothly. So this is quite similar to the Butterworth high pass filter, and the transition from black to white, that means cutoff to pass band, depends on the spread factor D naught. Okay. So let us see the spatial response of high pass filters. The first one is the ideal filter, second one is the Butterworth filter, third one is the Gaussian frequency domain filters. And these are the corresponding gray level profiles. Now you can see here, for the ideal high pass filter, you can observe the ripples. Okay, and the ripple is slightly visible in the Butterworth filter here, but it's absent in the Gaussian high pass filter. This is the result of applying ideal high pass filter on the test image. So with the D not equal to 15 in the first case, and 30 and 80 in the last case. So you can see, if you keep the D naught quite small at 15, you can see a lot of ringing happening, and even at 30, okay, you can observe the ringing effect around the edges. Okay, so this is the effect of using ideal high pass filter on the test image. Now if you switch over to uh, the Butterworth high pass filter like this, you can see with D naught equal to 15, 30 and 80, for D naught of 15, you can see a bit of a ringing effect. Okay, and it is absent at a higher cutoff like a 80. Okay, it's not visible, and it is much smoother than those obtained with an ideal low pass filter. And this is the effect of using Gaussian high pass filter, and um, a ringing is absent here, as we have studied why it is absent. So results are much better and refined. We have studied the Laplacian filter in the spatial domain. Let us explore its frequency domain version. So from Fourier transform property, d raised to n n f of x by d x raised to n is j u raised to n into f of u. So then for Laplacian operator, del square f is equal to dou square f by dou x square plus dou square f by dou y square, which is equal to, or is equivalent to, minus of u square plus v square into f into uv. So if we simplify, means if we extract the terms, del square is equal to minus of u square plus v square. So if you plot it, you get this one. This is a three-dimensional plot. Means it is high near the origin, and as you move to the corners, it tapers off to 0. Now, if you view this as an image, okay, then you get this one. Okay, so this point corresponds to the middle here, where you have the higher value represented by this brighter patch of image, a brighter circle. As you move away towards the corners or edges, you get lower values. You can see here it tapers off to lower values, and at the corner it tapers off to 0. Okay, so this is the corner here, it tapers off to 0. This is the view. And then if you convert it into spatial domain and plot it, so it will look like this one. This is the spatial response of minus u square plus v square. And if you zoom into this particular square, this is what you get. Okay, you have black and white square and black and white, and the intensity of this white part slowly decreases. And if you try to plot its cross section or intensity map, so this is what you get. So the origin is dark, okay, represented by this dip here, and then there is a white spot surrounding, so you have this peak. So basically it translates to Laplacian filter that we studied in the spatial domain. So this peak, negative peak is -4, and this positive amplitude, which is less intense than the negative peak, is basically 1 1. Okay, so this is what we get. So this is one dimensional mapping. You can do it in the other direction also, row or column. So you get 1 minus 4 1, or you can have basically in spatial domain we showed it as 1 minus 2 1, and in the other direction 1 minus 2 1. When we combine, we have the effect of 1 minus 1 1 1 1. Okay, so this is what we get in Laplacian filter in the frequency domain. Sharpening filters in the frequency domain. So we have gone through this spatial domain simplification and expression for high boost filter, which basically reduces to uh, high boost version of f of xy is equal to a minus 1 into f of xy plus uh, high pass version of f of xy. Okay, so this equation we had obtained in spatial domain, and we had seen the examples also. Now in frequency domain, you can express that as the first one, the high pass is h of high pass of uv in frequency domain is equal to 1 minus low pass version, and high boost version of uv, h of uv is equal to a minus 1 plus h of high pass version. Okay, so this is the representation in frequency domain. Next, let us learn about the important concept of homomorphic filtering. So if the image model is based on elimination and reflectance, then frequency domain procedures are not as easy to perform. The main reason is that elimination and reflectance components of the model are not separable because they are multiplicative in nature. So to be able to improve appearance of an image by simultaneous brightness, range compression and contrast enhancement, it is necessary to separate the two components which are basically multiplicative. An image can be expressed in terms of its reflectance and illumination component as f of xy is equal to I of xy into R of xy, where I of xy is the illumination component and R of xy is the reflectance component. To accomplish separability, so these are multiplicative terms, we need to first map the model to natural log domain and then take the Fourier transform of it. So basically what we do is, to separate these two terms, uh, we map them to natural log domain. So that looks like this. So f of xy input image. So we take the natural log of it. So that basically separates these two terms into additive terms. So take the DFT and then you specify the filter function h of uv and do the multiplication there. Take the DFT inverse and take the exponential, which is basically inverse of natural log here, and then you have the enhanced image g of xy. The illumination component of an image is generally characterized by slow spatial variation, and the reflectance component of an image tends to vary abruptly. So these characteristics leads to associating the low frequencies of the Fourier transform of the natural log of an image with illumination, and we associate the high frequencies with reflectance. So basically we are associating illumination with low frequencies and reflectance with high frequencies in the natural log domain. A good deal of control can be gained over illumination and reflectance components with a homomorphic filter. This control requires specification of filter function h of uv that affects low and high frequency components of Fourier transform in different ways. So this figure shows a cross section of such a filter. Uh, if the parameters gamma L and gamma H are chosen such that gamma L is less than 1 and gamma H is greater than 1, the filter function tends to decrease the contribution made by the low frequencies and amplify the contribution made by the high frequencies. The net result is simultaneous dynamic range compression and contrast enhancement. So let us see the application of homomorphic filtering and how useful it is. This is the original image. and this is the enhanced image. So in the original image, the details inside the room are not clearly visible. Okay, it's quite dark, and it's very hard to see what's inside. But if you apply the homomorphic filtering on this image, this is the result. So in the background, you can see what's there, okay, in the room, and many objects are visible, okay, after doing the filtration. So this is the power of using the homomorphic filtering or filters. So with this, we have come to the end of module 2. So in this lecture, we have looked at basic steps for filtering in frequency domain, and we have gone through some basic smoothing and sharpening frequency domain filters, and homomorphic filtering, and also Laplacian filter. In the next lecture, we'll learn the image restoration. We'll start the module 3. See you at the next lecture. Thank you.